Hey guys, Dijon here. In the comic portion of episode 128 of the Mustercast, we go over what comics we've been reading and introduce a new book club segment alongside new addition to the podcast, Jackal. In this week's book club, we discuss and review Wonder Woman Historia, The Amazons, issue number 1. Enjoy. Of course, reading Chainsaw Man, one of the mini manga I'm reading. I feel like it was kind of slow for a while with the current arc, but it picked up a few months ago, and now it's at a really good spot that I'm enjoying a lot. Still watching, reading. Kagurabachi, and all the memes, man, they were true.
They're true.
It's so good. Kagurabachi, every chapter, incredible. The art is so good. It's so good. Kagurabachi's great. Kaiju number 8 is close to wrapping up. Or at least that's what it feels like. I don't know if this next chapter is the last chapter, but it feels like it might be. Because it's a long chapter. It is 40, it's 49 pages. And the last, they just beat the big bad of the entire series in the last chapter.
Wow.
So I'm like, this feels like it's about to be the end. So either this is the last chapter or maybe there's one or two more. But I'll have to get around to reading that. But of course, I've read the chapters before that over the last few months. Since the last time I brought it up. And still reading Children X by Sui Ishida, the creator of Tokyo Ghoul. I hate how long these chapters are. I wish they weren't so long. every chapter this dude releases is like 40 pages long, and I'm like, please.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Please, I have a family. I can't spend all my time reading this. I also recently read Game Informer issue 369 because Game Informer is back from the dead, and I subscribed to their magazine and got the first issue back. And the cover story is Borderlands 4, and the cover's pretty good. I don't care for Borderlands, but it's a good cover. The art, I mean. And yeah, I didn't read all of it, but I read through a decent amount of it. And I had let me go check out this Doom review, even though I watched their review on YouTube. I still was like, let me read it. And just read through just some of it just to, get that old Game Informer experience. Because when they had got shut down by GameStop, before they went independent, I copped the most recent issues that I was interested in. I copped the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth issue, the Hades issue because it had a gorgeous cover done by the lead concept artist for Hades. And I copped was No Rest for the Wicked because I'm excited for that game, and it also had a great cover. And the very last issue that they released, which was the cover story, was for Dragon Age of Ilgard. And that was it. And then I also went and picked up some older ones off eBay of games with covers that I was just I'm stuttering so much. Covers that I was interested in. I copped 2 or 3 Dishonored ones because I think the Dishonored 2 covers had 2 different covers. So I got both of those. Which one was because there's 2 characters you can play as in that, and I got both covers. And then I got the cover for the very first Dishonored, or the issue that had the very first Dishonored on the cover from 2012. So yeah. And now that is officially the oldest one I have. Before that, the oldest one I had was Skyward Sword.
Wow.
Which has a great cover.
It does.
But yeah, in terms of American comics, I read recently Poison Ivy number 34, Batman and Robin year 1, number 7 and 8, The New Gods number 5 and 6, Power Girl 19 and 20, which it seems like this is the end, unfortunately. The book was canceled because the very last page it was the end ? Or something. Yeah, I think it got canceled. I think it's over. I'm not surprised. I liked it. I was enjoying it, but I just don't think it was doing well enough to keep going. But it got a decent end. The Flash number 20 and 21. I mentioned last episode that I wasn't feeling the last arc, and that I hoped the next one would be better. It's way better. Wally has discovered the ability to clone himself, and is fighting a war against Eclipso on the moon using his clones. And it's very World War I and II adjacent, where they're in trenches and he's sacrificing his clones. Wow. And it's getting real dark to the point to where his family had to bring the second Flash, Barry Allen, to Wally and be like, hey bro, Stop. What are you doing?
Right.
Um, and I've been catching up on comics, so I read 4 issues or 5 issues of Batman Dark Patterns, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And it's so good.
Ooh.
Batman Dark Patterns is so good. For the first time in a long time, I'm reading multiple Batman books. I'm
Wow.
part of the problem now. But these are actually good. Uh, read Two Face issues number 2, 3, and 4. Catching up on that.
Mhm.
I read the most recent issue of Batgirl, which I forgot to put the number down. I think it's issue number 8. And the last couple issues have been chronicling kind of the backstory of her mother, Lady Shiva.
Mhm.
And for forever, I thought that Richard Dragon taught Lady Shiva, but it turns out that he was her peer, and like him and another one of the like best DC fighters, Bronze Tiger, um, trained alongside Lady Shiva and her sister when they were younger.
Mhm.
Red Green Arrow number 24, Absolute Superman number 8, Nightwing number 120, 121, Absolute Flash number 3 and 4, Justice League Unlimited number 7, Absolute Batman number 8, Absolute Green Lantern number 3, Mr. Terrific Year 1, which was phenomenal, and Mr. Terrific has been getting a lot of attention lately because of Superman. He's real good in that movie,
Mhm.
and he might be getting a spin-off show or movie, which is
Oh,
exciting.
sick.
Action Comics number 1087, Supergirl.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Action Comics was literally where Superman debuted in 1938.
Yeah.
So, yep, there were 1087 issues in. Been
Crazy work.
been going almost 100 years. um, Supergirl number 1 and 2, Batman and Robin, Jason Todd number 1. There's 2 Batman and Robin books, one with Dick and one with Jason. Um,
Hmm.
Zatanna number 5, Kyle Rayner Green Lantern Volume 1 from the 90s. I started reading this a while ago, then I stopped. But now that I'm caught up on comics, I now have time to read other comics. It's crazy. Um,
Wow.
so I read that. And last but certainly not least, George Perez's Wonder Woman, Volume 2,
Hmm.
um, which is a good transition, but too bad we're not transitioning. And it said, you tell me what you've been reading.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. More Lady Snowblood, which has been really nice. I've been really enjoying it. I'm gonna pick up like volumes 3 and 4 later in the week when I take 1 and 2 back to the library. I'm also gonna get more Helsing because I'm really loving Helsing so far, like a lot. It's very funny, very campy. It's a good time. What else? There's another manga that I picked up and I can't remember what it's called now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, I've been rereading Bone, that graphic novel series, which has been really good. I forgot how good it was.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I've been reading Bone. The whole thing is on Internet Archive, so now's as good a time as any to read it since it's up there. I've been rereading Bone. I've been rereading this manhwa that I really, really like called Under the Oak Tree because it finished, so now I can catch up completely. And I found that they have physical editions at Enoch Pratt, and so I picked that up and have been
That's
reading through
interesting.
it. The whole thing's
Is
in
it
color.
is it a like a vertical scroll?
Um, like the book, it's like the
Like
physical book, or
like digitally?
oh yeah, it's a vertical
How
scroll.
do they translate that to a traditional book?
So the way that they did it, which I thought was really really creative, is that they like group I think like 2 pages per vertical scroll. Like what would be 2 pages in vertical scroll is 1 page in the book, and they kind of rearrange some of the panels to make it like work when you're reading it. It's really interesting. I'll send you pictures when I get a shot because I don't have it in front of me right now, but it's really cool. And it's really well adapted into a physical edition. And I think it's extra funny because it comes full circle because Under the Oak Tree started off as a web novel. And so now it's gone from web novel to webcomic adaptation right back to novel format.
There's
But
some
physical graphic novel.
DC has been doing a thing where they turn some comics into vertical scrolls. That's been interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I'm curious to see where they go with that because that's just a way that
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of younger people who read comics online read comics now, and
Hmm.
they're used to that,
For
and
sure.
it makes a lot of sense with the way that phones work and people are used to scrolling. So I'm curious to see how how DC handles that going forward. They do like straight up have like DC web comics that are made
Mm,
for vertical scrolling. Like the most famous one, which I'm sure you've heard of, is the Wayne Family Adventures, which causes a lot of discourse because unnecessarily for the most part, because it's like it can give a lot of people the wrong idea about a lot of those characters, but at the same time, it's like not canon, so it's not that serious. I feel like people get too butthurt over
mm,
the characterization of some of those, and I'm just like, it's not canon. It's not that serious. It's just a
right,
fun little story that's meant to be like a slice of life with all of the various
right. It's
different
for
Bat
different
family members.
creators.
But yeah, I'm good. So, sorry, Andrew.
No, you're good. That's it. That's all I've got.
Yeah.
Just those three things because they're pretty hefty comics, all things considered. And of course, one secret thing.
So last episode, I pitched the idea of starting a kind of book club where I force my friends to read comic books. And today will be the first episode where we do that. I don't have an official name for it at the moment. You know, I'm sure I'll come up with it later. For now, it's just the Mustard Cast Book Club. And the first book I decided to start with was Wonder Woman Historia, The Amazons, because I love Wonder Woman. Yeah, you've heard me talk about Wonder Woman a lot, and how I feel
Mhm.
about Wonder Woman, which I'll get into a bit later. And I need to get other people to understand why Wonder Woman is so important, and to just get a better understanding of the character, and kind of like try to encourage other people to read Wonder Woman stories and learn more about her character because she deserves the world, but she does get it. But for this new section of the podcast, this book club, um, we have Jackal joining us for the third time. Um, you previously joined us every time we talked about Arcane, the first time and the second time. So you want to just give a quick introduction?
Hello, it's me, Jack again. Um, I'm very excited for this book club. I actually been waiting for this and like making art on the side. I have to send it later, but like, I'm so excited to talk about this.
Yeah. Also, Jackal has been doing the art for the podcast. The illustrations that I use in the thumbnails and in the overlay, that is all done by Jackal. So yeah, Wonder Woman Historia, The Amazons, is written by Kelly Sue DeConnick, with pencils and inks by Phil Jimenez, colors by Hi-Fi, Arif Prianto, and Romulo Fajardo Jr., or Fajardo Jr., I mean. Letters by Clayton Cowell, and the covers by Phil Jimenez and Romulo Fajardo Jr., and it is edited by Chris Conroy and Andy Collery. Just a brief synopsis before we get into the nitty gritty. Millennia ago, Queen Hera and the goddesses of the Olympian pantheon grew greatly dissatisfied with their male counterparts. And far from their sight, they put a plan into action. A new society was born, one never before seen on Earth, capable of wondrous and terrible things. But their existence could not stay secret for long. When a despairing woman named Hippolyta crossed the Amazon's path, a series of events was set in motion that would lead to an outright war in heaven and the creation of the Earth's greatest guardian. So, before we even talk about the book, I want to just know. Well, actually, before I even ask you guys, I want to just talk about my history of Wonder Woman and how I feel about Wonder Woman. So, like I said, I love her. But it wasn't always this way. I I've always liked Wonder Woman, but she wasn't always one of my favorite superheroes. I feel like a lot of my experience with the character came from Justice League, the anime series, and Justice League Unlimited, which I know you watched growing up, Ira, but Jackal, did you also watch those
I
Justice League
did.
cartoons? Yeah, and like a lot of my experience with Wonder Woman came from that cartoon, and that colored my perspective on the character for a very long time. And I also grew up reading the New 52 of the DC Universe, which there was a lot of retcons in that. And one of them was that they made, they first and foremost made Wonder Woman the daughter of Zeus, which is not her original origin. And they also made the Amazons a lot more violent. So in my mind,
Hmm.
first and foremost, I think for most people, unfortunately, the Amazons are warriors, which they are, of course. But that's kind of like, it's not the only thing they are, but that's like kind of the main thing that people see. And also, they perceive Wonder Woman, and for me, a very long time, she in my mind, she was the member of the Justice League that was willing to kill. She was the one that was always like, she can kill somebody if she wants to, and that's not untrue. But
Mm.
it's kind of over exaggerated just how willing she is to kill people. Um, in reality, the level of willingness she has to murder a person is the exact same as Superman, because despite contrary belief, Superman is willing to kill F as a last result if push comes to shove. Because in the 90s, when Superman died in the death of Superman at the hands of Doomsday, he also killed Doomsday because Doomsday destroyed the Justice League and was destroying cities. And Superman was like, this nigga's gotta die. Um, and they fought each other to the death. And that is kind of like the lengths Wonder Woman has to be pushed to want to kill somebody. She's not just going around murdering people. Um, and I think a few years ago at this point, I decided to sit down and start reading a lot of Wonder Woman comics. I don't know what sparked this, but it just happened. And one of them, actually, it might have actually been this book. I might have just heard how good this book was, sat down and read it, and went, "Wow, this is awesome!" and started reading other Wonder Woman comics. What has been your guys' history with Wonder Woman? What were your thoughts of Wonder Woman before sitting down and reading this first issue of Wonder Woman, Historia of the Amazons?
Uh,
Same.
so,
Oh,
oh,
go ahead.
thank you. But
Mhm.
growing up, it was always just like the cartoons or like a movie where she starred in it, or was like not necessarily the main character, but like had a role in it. So I didn't really know much about her. I was kind of like, oh, this is just like a counterpart to Superman or something. Like I didn't know much lore about her, but like as I watched more like cartoons or like saw other movies, I was like, she has a lot more lore to her than what I've been like shown basically. Because like yeah, I know she's strong and has like this rope of truth and everything, but I was like, what's the story behind it? And I realized that there was like a bunch of like comics about her that I should have gotten into, but like you said earlier, how she's like willing to kill. I actually saw a clip earlier about how she freed a bunch of women, and those women that she freed grabbed like soldier's gun and just started like shooting all the men. And Superman showed up and was like, "What the heck? You didn't stop them?" She was like, "What do you mean? I just left them to their own devices." And I was like, "That's kind of cool, actually." And it's funny that you mentioned that Superman is also willing to kill, because I was watching a movie recently, Batman Yakuza, that was actually pretty good. OST is really, really good. But I was like, every time I've seen Superman, he's like always on the verge of like killing someone. And I'm like, he's always like low key kind of evil, but low key makes sense also.
That just made me want to put some Superman comics on the docket. because because I'm also forgetting, because the Superman's out right now, because nature is healing and people are starting to learn the type of person Superman's supposed to be. I forget that people do view Superman as like Omni Man or Homelander, because those are the versions of Superman people have seen for so long, especially since the
Yeah.
last Superman movie before the one that we have, Superman killed the main villain at the very end of the movie. So like, I forget that that is how people see Superman. So now I got to start adding some Superman comics to the list.
Yes, please.
Get the Superman propaganda in there. My experience with Wonder Woman is very similar to yours. Like I said, I watched Justice League Unlimited a lot growing up, and like in my head, like I knew that there was more to her than what was in Unlimited, but there was also like this, because I didn't really read comics or like watch superhero stuff growing up. I was always just like, oh, girl superhero, and that was like the extent of my like. You got all the guy superheroes, and then there's Wonder Woman, who is the team girl, which I know is like, now that I'm older, there's more to her than that. But like, I just found her rather interesting, but never really like knew where to kind of pique that interest a little more, which is unfortunate. But you know,
Yeah,
now I'm in a place. I'm an adult. I can, yeah,
and
Hmm.
I mean, yeah,
yeah.
that's a big part of the problem that I have, is that like everybody knows Wonder Woman, and I think that there's always a debate that can be had and a conversation that can be had about it. But I think that I feel like not many people can argue that she is the most popular woman superhero on the face of planet Earth, despite
Mhm.
how little people know about her. And that's kind of insane, isn't it? That like, despite how popular characters like Scarlet Witch and Storm and Captain Marvel are, and Harley Quinn, I think that I think that very few people would actually care enough to argue whether or not they're more popular than Wonder Woman. I feel like most people would agree, like, yeah, of course Wonder Woman's the most iconic woman superhero on face planet Earth. It's Wonder Woman. But then you ask them any very specific details about the character, they know nothing. And that's insane, right? And a big part of that, and you guys mentioned it several times, there was nowhere for you to go. There were Superman cartoons. There's Batman cartoons. There's never been a Wonder Woman cartoon. That's insane. The most
It is.
popular woman superhero on the face of the planet Earth has never had her own cartoon. And that's all it takes. That's all it took for so many people to learn about so many superheroes, was for them to have a cartoon that really dives into their mythos. And I want to hope that we get one soon, but god damn it, it's been so long. She's been around since 1941 and she still doesn't have her own
Oh,
cartoon. She's had her own cartoon animated movies, direct to DVD. She's been featured in cartoons as a part of ensemble cast with Justice League shows, Young
Hmm.
Justice,
Hmm.
DC Superhero Girls, but she's never had her own cartoon, and that's insane. Starfire is about to get a cartoon before Wonder Woman.
What?
Green Lantern,
Really?
Green Lantern Jessica Cruz, a Green Lantern that was made within the last 15 years, is about to get a cartoon before Wonder
What?
Woman. Harley
insane.
Quinn got a cartoon before Wonder Woman.
She has several cartoons and like plays in several movies.
Like, it's insane. Because you would think after the popularity of that first movie, they would have jumped on a Wonder Woman cartoon immediately. But the reality is, there's, of course, a level of sexism in this. Because when you think about it, your mind goes, there's no good reason for her not to have one. So why doesn't she? It can't be anything other than sexism, except that in the early 2000s, there was some legal issues. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some more research for this for next episode when we talk about this again to figure out exactly what the legal issues were. But I know that for some reason they could not make a Wonder Woman cartoon in the 2000s. That was resolved at one point. They can make a Wonder Woman cartoon now. They just choose not to. And I think part of it is the power the character holds. If Superman's hope and Batman is justice or vengeance, Wonder Woman is peace. Despite how
Mm.
violent she's often portrayed, her whole thing is to do everything in her power to prevent things from happening non-violently. She's a diplomat. Her whole thing is peace and love. And that's why the Amazons were created in the first place, as we're going to get into. So let's just let's get into the comic stuff. And let's just start on the surface level with the art by pencils and ink by Phil Jimenez, but it's ultimately brought to life by the coloring of Hi-Fi, Arif, Prianto, and Romulo Fajaro Jr. Um, the art is incredible. I love that the Olympians look otherworldly, not just like humans,
Mhm.
just not just like Greek people in togas. They look they look like like biblically accurate angels almost.
Indeed.
Like they look biblical. They look like gods. Like what do you guys think about the art and the design of these Greek gods and goddesses?
I've seen many in Athena design in my day, but I have to say that the one in this comic is my favorite that I've ever seen. Period. Like,
Exactly.
there's just something about it that is so like attractive to the eye, and like combined with the art and the colors, it fits so well, but it also feels so out of place at the same time. And I think that really lends to like Athena's aspect as a goddess and like what she stands for. And I don't know, I just really like it. Also, the fact that they included Hecate at all,
Yeah, I
like,
actually wanted to
is
mention that
amazing
too,
to me.
because she's not often included among the 12 Olympians. And
Because she's
uh,
oh, go ahead.
what do we call it? Chthonic god.
Yeah,
Um,
she's chthonic, and so like people are like she's evil, but like she's not. She's not, and you should include her because especially like in a comic that is so focused on women and like women's experiences, that's like people consider Hera like one of the goddesses of women, but I would argue that Hecate is as well because witchcraft is was often seen as like a woman's thing,
mhm.
and so like especially in like ancient Greek society, like they should explore that aspect of like I guess I want to call it the divine feminine, but I'm thinking of it in like a little more on a deeper level, and then I just can't put it into words. But like, yeah, they should portray her a lot
Yeah,
more. And I thought,
it also brings in an aspect of Wonder Woman that a lot of people aren't aware of again because there's just not a lot of information out there about Wonder Woman. for the mass public, and it's that there's a lot of magic. Wonder Woman does magic. I feel like people think Wonder Woman, you think she can fly, she's strong, she can basically do everything Superman can do except for the laser eyes and the frost breath. I feel like that's what people see her as, but she also could do magic, and Hecate's
I
part of
did
that.
not know that.
And the current Absolute Universe comics, Wonder Woman,
Hmm.
just a kind of like brief picture of what those are. It's basically what if you removed a key aspect of each character. For Superman, he was raised on Kansas, or not Kansas, Krypton, and then Krypton blew up. Super Batman isn't rich. Wonder Woman was not raised by Amazons. Instead, she was raised by one of her greatest enemies, Cersei, who is one of the Greek goddesses of magic. So that version of Wonder Woman is even more heavily focused on magic and doing a lot of magic. And recently, that's becoming more prevalent in Wonder Woman's kit. But yes, sorry, go on.
Oh, so when I first started reading this book, or at least this comic, I went in like 100% blind. I didn't even read the synopsis, so I didn't know what to expect.
I'm glad you
But the
trusted me.
art, I had to like, I did trust you, and I'm glad I did. I had to like take my time reading because like there's so much detail jam packed into every page. It's not something that you like can skim. And like there is like a type of flow to it that you kind of have to get used to. I'm not used to like them like there being multiple panels on one page like telling a different story. And also it like perfectly illustrates the female rage.
Oh yeah, it's
It's like everyone's crashing out
yeah,
and it's very valid.
it's very valid because getting into
Very
the story
valid.
itself, it's yeah, like you said, it's about like female rage, especially when they first go to create the Amazons and Artemis is she's crashing out. That's exactly what's happening. She's upset. She's like,
Mhm.
"Where's Hera? Why isn't Hera here? She should be here. She's the queen of us all."
Oh, what a coward. I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
and it's
no.
like you could tell she has her reasons, but like yeah, it's all about rage. And a line that caught my attention early on as I was reading was the subjugation and abuse of not men by men. It's a very deliberate line meant to call out the fact that not only do men oppress women, but they also oppress anyone that doesn't fit the traditional view of what a man is. Whether that be someone who does identify as a cis man but doesn't adhere to tradition, or a trans person or non binary person. It's just they oppress those that are not men, and that was that was a line that I did not remember the first time I read it. Granted, this was years ago. This was like 2 years ago. Like I didn't remember Hecate being in this at all. And at the time when I first read this, I barely knew a lot about Hecate. Now I know a lot more because of Hades, and as a result of Hades, I did my own research because I was just interested. And yeah, I know a lot more about Greek mythology, and reading this and kind of like seeing the way they pull from it is very interesting because there's a lot of like digging deep into like what these characters represent and how that is poured into the creation of these Amazons. Which this is a slight retcon of. I don't even know if this is 100% canon to the main universe. I think this might be its own thing, but it's a type of book to where you could. It doesn't like go against anything that came before, and instead kind of adds more context. So you could very easily read this and then read other Wonder Woman comics and assume that this is the origin of the Amazons in those comics as well. Even though they may look different, you can still make that assumption. But I want to hear more about like the very specific aspect of the stories that stuck out to you guys.
I
Like
think,
the fact.
oh,
Oh, go
go on.
ahead. Oh, yeah, I do like the fact that they also made Aphrodite a crash out.
Mm,
Because that's another like aspect of Aphrodite that a lot of people don't know about. Is that like not only is she a goddess of love, but she is also a goddess of war in her own right, outside of like her whole thing, like situationship with Ares. Like a lot of goddesses of love back then were twofold goddesses of war because like passion and like people love is something people go to war for, and I'm glad that they're like playing with that aspect of her character a lot more. Like you don't see that in media, and also the fact that she's black is amazing, or at least
yeah,
black coded. I'm in love with
very
that.
much. They made her a like plus size black woman, which is a very
Mhm.
fun design for the
Awesome.
character. And
Very much so.
yeah, just all of these designs. Like we talk about Hecate, but we didn't talk about how she looks, and she's just spiky,
Hmm.
just jagged and harsh. You mentioned Athena, and to like describe it a bit, she's like very armor clad, um, and wielding these two silver swords, and has a um. I don't believe she has. I think she does. She have a gold mask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's they're all gorgeous. I feel like the most human looking ones are Hera and Artemis. Hestia is just looks like a woman on fire.
Yeah.
um, but Artemis is the youngest and is a wild. She looks like a wild child. She's covered in bones and feathers and furs. And Hera is just meant to look like a queen. She's the queen of the gods. Second in command only to Zeus, and she looks the part, covered in peacock feathers all the time. But also throughout the entirety of this book, Hera specifically constantly changes her like clothes. All the other goddesses look the exact same the entire time, except for that one moment when they were creating the Amazons. But she is always changing. Every scene with her, she looks different, and she looks great every time. That one 2-page spread when she's laying down is so good. Also, this book is mostly 2-page spreads, which I normally hate in both physical and digital forms because they're hard to read. But the art is so good that I can forgive them this one time. Just this
So
time.
like usually I hate two-page spreads also because I'm blind and I can't read small text. But because the art is such a treat to look at, zooming in to read the text, I was excited to do it. Like when another two-page spread would come up, I'm like, yes, I get to look at it in more detail. Like it's amazing.
But yeah, let's talk about the argument that is had between the goddesses and the gods, as they are very dismissive of the very real grievances that they have, where Hera says, I tire of men. And then who is it? Poseidon was like, oh well, I'll cause a plague. I'll just wipe the slate clean. We'll start over. And she's like, no, not mankind, men.
Men.
I'm tired of men. And then his face is like, the fuck you mean, men?
What do you mean?
Right.
And then she lists their
I really wanted to
atrocities.
talk about that too.
Yeah, she lists their atrocities, and Zeus is very dismissive. He's like, it's in their nature. And she's like, it's in their nature. What do you mean it's in their nature to be cruel? And they're supposed to just take this? And yeah, what did you want to say about it, Brie? Or sorry, Jacqueline.
It's fine. Either name is fine. Whatever's more comfortable for you. But that part I really wanted to talk about because like it really bent me out of shape when she was like, why is it that these men cause so much injustice and like we're always on the receiving end and we just have to take it? And he was just like, well, existing has like its consequences or whatever. And I'm like, that's not true. She was like, yeah, it does, but like why is it always that women have to like hold their tongue or like be the recipient of like abuse and whatnot or be held back? And he's just like, well, man is unjust anyway, and like women like are alive to like not serve but like be a part of like that catalyst. And she's like, that doesn't make any sense. And that's when they all just immediately like just crashed. I was just like, oh, how about we start fighting like right now? And I was like, oh, it's about to be a bloodbath. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. And yeah, they're very dismissive because like they benefit from it. Zeus is the king. He benefits from patriarchal society, and in Greek myth, he's always running around sleeping with different women. He benefits from it, so he knows that if things change, the reality is, if things changed, men would still benefit from things changing, but they wouldn't be the ones in power. It would be shared, and he doesn't want that. If he changes things for mankind, he would also have to change things for godkind, and he'd have to stand shoulder to shoulder with Hera, and he doesn't want that. He wants to be the one above all. What are your thoughts, Sire?
There was a really interesting point brought up, and I don't remember the exact wording of it, but it's like regarding the like man is unjust by nature, and Hera said something about like, but you're the god of justice and you let this stand regardless. And like I thought that was a really interesting like angle to play it from, where it's like you see this injustice, you acknowledge this injustice, and you know that it happens, but you say that it's a part of nature despite being the one who determines what that nature of justice looks like. And it's like it really like pokes, I think, the biggest hole in that thing of like where like men will go like not all men, and it's like yeah, not all men, but a lot of men stand by and let the men who do like you know do the things that they do because like what am I trying to say, it's like it kind of reflects that like not all men in air quotes like mentality, you know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. And yeah, that whole argument, like you have like some of the other gods chiming in every now and again, because I feel like the only one you'll notice, there's one god who doesn't chime in. Do you guys notice which one?
I don't know their name, but there was one who was just like sitting there in the background listening to all of it. Like, you don't have any thoughts or anything?
It was Hermes. Hermes was the only one that never said a thing. He was just there. The only thing he said was Zeus was very flippant about what he was the god of. He's listing off what everyone's the god of, leading up to him saying he's the god of justice. And then he gets to Hermes and goes, he's the god of, and he's like stumbling, and he's like of merchants and thieves and commerce. And he's like, yes, yes, that. He's very dismissive of Hermes.
Mhm.
And Hermes is very quiet during this whole thing. And I don't want to give away too much, but like, think about that.
Oh,
Like
more
it's gonna come back
lore.
later.
And yeah, but I also want to talk about the designs of the gods and how cool they are. Zeus,
Mhm.
piece of shit, but he looks cool as hell.
Definitely.
This just
He's literally the biggest one.
yeah, this giant
Right.
blue man with these goat horns holding a lightning rod in his hand. And then Ares is just covered in blood, half naked. They made Hephaestus this like short dude, short stocky dude, um, who's also just naked for some reason. um, Poseidon, I think, is my favorite, where he's like a
Mhm.
centaur with like a like fish's tail, and that's really cool because he's also the god of horses.
Mhm.
What's his name? Uh, not Helios, the other god of the sun.
Hello?
Yes, Apollo. Yes, he's there. His outfit's interesting, where he has this like
Very much so.
golden shirt and boots, but then he's wearing like a thong or a jockstrap, and it's very random, but it is a cool design. And
Yeah.
then Hermes, like you said, always in the background, so you don't really get the best look at him. But you know, he kind of looks very like what Hermes always looks like. Big wing ears on his head, and the like medicine staff. But then he's like
Mhm.
draped in these robes that I assume will look really cool when we see him running at some point. And yeah, just from a design standpoint, all of these cars just look awesome. Also very
Very much.
interesting and unique and different from any version of them I've ever seen. I don't know about you
Mhm.
guys.
I do like that they're not afraid to make the gods like not look human. I feel like a lot of like depictions of Greek gods especially like you know they're afraid to like kind of step outside of the box, but like the whole thing with the Greek gods was that like they could appear in any form, whatever they wanted to be they could, and I don't think that that's played with enough, so it's refreshing to see that they're not just dudes in togas, even if they
Mhm.
are pieces of shit.
Yeah. But kind of like I want to circle back to the creation of the Amazons themselves, but for the sake of time, I want to kind of jump to Hippolyta. Do you guys know who Hippolyta is? Like what she is to the Wonder Woman mythos? And if you know, don't say it, just in case the other person doesn't. But if you don't know, let me know.
I just
You don't?
don't. I know what Hippolyta is in context of Greek myth, but not for Wonder Woman.
Okay. What about you,
I've heard her
Joey?
name mentioned before,
Interesting. I'm not gonna.
and
s-
like
I'm not
she
gonna.
had some kind of like level of like importance,
Yeah,
but I'm not too sure.
that's awesome that you guys just don't know. I'm not gonna say anything because I thought you.
Oh
I
my gosh.
I thought you guys would know, but honestly, the fact that you guys don't know kind of sucks. But it goes to show part of the
Uh,
problem. And not because of you guys, but because of
Yeah.
society and DC
Yeah.
and WB and how they suck and don't do a good job of advertising this character and getting people to learn about her.
They can make a cartoon off of this book, honestly. Like I
Suppose
would
I'm
so down to
saying.
see it.
supposedly the first Wonder Woman project will be an adaptation of this book. So
Awesome.
if that's true, and if they do it justice, this will be the perfect ground level to start off with Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's get into Hippolyta and her story, which is insane. And kind of it feels random at first because you go from all of this creation of the Amazons and all this godly stuff, and then you go down to Earth, to Greece, to
Yeah,
this
it was such a drastic change.
to this woman who is called an assistant but is assumed to be a slave, um, who is told to kill a child because it's a girl, and they get into kind of the like history of that being done, of like why babies would be just sent down a river to either die or not, mostly die, obviously. Um, and one of them was just being born a girl. Sometimes if it's not a boy, they just go, I don't want a girl, go throw her in a river, which is insane.
Yeah.
Especially since, of course, nowadays we know it is the man that determines the sex of the child. So if you're constantly having girls, that's on you, brother. And you just got to accept that that's what it is. And know that you're not having a son unless you're going to let somebody else, inseminate your wife, and you guys are okay with that. Otherwise
Mhm.
you're stuck with daughters, dude. This is on
Right.
you. Unless you can somehow change your biology, it's up. You're not having a son. But yeah, this just sends her into a spiral, and she just runs off and just keeps running for days without food somehow. um,
Mm.
for how long they say days, but it's hard to tell if it's days. But there's one like 2-page spread that depicts it, where she eventually ends up in a snowy place, and you're like, how long has she been running, and where did she go? How is this possible? But then men do what men do and try to mess with her before the Amazons come and do what the Amazons were made to do, which is stop that from happening. And I guess from there, I'd like to get into like your guys' thought on the creation of the Amazons and kind of like how they're depicted here based on your limited experience with them in the context of DC myth specifically, because I'm sure you guys are aware of their existence outside of it. Because you mentioned like how you know about Hippolyta in Greek myth and legend. Hippolyta is well, maybe I shouldn't say this because maybe you don't know Jackal, and that would be a spoiler. So, like in Greek legend, she has an importance among the Amazons. And no, I'll take it back. Actually, in the book, they say future queen. So that's not a spoiler because
Yeah.
when Philippus meets her, she says future queen. So never
She
mind,
she does say that.
not a spoiler. In Greek myth, Hippolyta is the queen of the
Literally,
Amazons.
the end chapter has her on like the horse and like armor and everything. So I'm like, something's going on here.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
future queen of the Amazons. So like, what are your thoughts?
Hmm.
Sorry, I've been talking a lot. I'm excited.
No, no, it's okay. But that whole scene, oh my gosh, I kept rereading it. It was so good when she was like, "Oh yes, the gods will take care of this. Like they'll determine whether or not this child will live or like pass. Like yeah, it's surely in their hands." And then like the immediate change of heart, and then like her just running to like find this baby. Like she isn't even by the water anymore. She's just still running and running and running. I'm like, girl, this baby is probably dead. Like you've been running for days and you haven't found this baby, and you come across these men. I'm like, oh, they might help her or something. No, they're like, oh, let's cut
No.
out her tongue. Like what? This like, are you a runaway slave? You can't talk. You look weak. Let's mess with her. Like, are you kidding me? And all that dedication, like she was already half dead, as they stated, just for the baby to actually pass away. I thought it was
Yeah.
gonna be like some kind of other thing where she finds the baby and then like that's Wonder Woman, but no,
Mm.
So did you notice what Hera did at the end?
I did. She's like, oh yeah, I need another pair of eyes. She's like, you already have like thousands of eyes. She's like, now I have 1,002 eyes.
Yeah, she said, "I'll take this soul later for safekeeping." So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I couldn't remember if she saved the baby or not. So I was reading it like, and at a certain point, I was like, "Oh no, she didn't. The baby's dead." I was like, I
Yeah.
couldn't remember if she did or not, and like, no, she did not. The baby died. Yeah, surprisingly, like this is a book where I read it all. I read it last night because I got that dog in me. Okay, I just be reading comics. Because at first I was worried like this comic's 50 pages. Am I going to be able to sit down and read this in one sitting? Because I might get sleepy. But the day before, I read 3 separate comics that were like 24 pages each. So I was like, no, I'll be fine. I'll be able to read it. Mind you, they weren't even 20 something pages each. They were longer than that because they were old comics. And old comics
Oh.
be having long chapters for no reason.
Mhm.
So I was like, I got it. I'll sit down. I'll be able to read this. And I had a great time. And I went to sleep happy thinking about Wonder Woman.
Yeah, like I came really close to reading the entire thing in one sitting, but it was like 2 a.m. And I was like, no, I can't. I gotta wait. So we can talk about it and then see thoughts. But
Yeah, this conversation
I
would
might.
be the whole podcast if we read the whole thing at once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So I was like, let me pace myself, even though I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, it's also not that hard to read. Like when you said 50 pages, I thought it was gonna be like heavy with dialogue.
Yeah.
It was not heavy
It's
with
very much
dialogue. So it's very easy to read. The only thing that slows you down is the art because you gotta take it in.
yeah, you
For
just got to.
sure.
You just turn to a page and go, "Oh my god, I can't flip now. I don't even want to read anymore. I just want to stare at this."
Right.
But did you guys read the very end page that goes into detail about the different Amazons that were created and the tribes and like their
I did.
designs? I read it as well. Did you, Jackal?
I did. I-
I did not.
I don't blame you. Because I was halfway through reading
It is
it
a lot.
and I was like, "This is a lot," but I'm gonna finish it because I want to
It
talk
is a
about it.
lot.
But yeah, they go through all of them. Now, me, a person. Wait, I just recognized because I was just about to say how going through it, I recognize some of their names as characters that appear in Wonder Woman stories, and then I go through and recognize that one of them is named Nubia, and I did not pick up on that before. That's cool. Um, Nubia, for those who don't know, which Bree, I'm sure you don't know. I you know because I talk about Nubia 1,000 times. But Nubia was DC's first black superhero woman. Um, uh, she was created in the 70s, like most black superheroes. And maybe I'll make us read some Nubia comics at some point because a couple years ago she had a real big push. And she was added as a playable character in multiverses of above a lot of DC characters, above like the Flash. She was added, which was wild to me. Unfortunately, that game is kaput, but it was crazy that she was in that game. And her original origin was that she was twin sisters or twin sister to Diana, to Wonder Woman. And the reason she's black is because she was sculpted out of dark clay, which was wild.
That is wild.
Not evil clay, but like literally dark colored clay, and that's why
Makes
she's
sense.
black. But they eventually retconned it. But I'm actually not mad at the idea of her still being her twin and just removing that dark clay line, and just it being that she's a long lost twin. Which is really fun. But here they're making her one of the first Amazons, and specifically, she's born of Demeter, which was the first tribe was born from Demeter, and that's interesting. I didn't realize that before, but that's cool. It'd be interesting. I'm curious if they'll do anything with that in live action because one of my hopes is that Nubia is present from the beginning when Diana first shows up on screen because as DC's first black woman hero who doesn't get a lot of attention until recently. She's gotten a lot more. It'd be cool if she's there from the beginning, alongside DC's first woman hero. Period. That'd be cool. But yeah, the Amazons themselves are cool. We haven't gotten too deep into them yet. We'll get more into them later. But just from a visual standpoint, awesome. Some of them different than you expect because the tribe of Aphrodite are like all clad in like white and like shining and shimmering, which I feel like you would expect them to be more like how she looks, where they have this almost she almost looks like she has like paint dripping on her body. But instead they're all shining and white, and that's interesting in comparison to the rest, which I feel like the rest kind of match their gods a bit more. So it's interesting they went in that direction with their designs.
Right.
Like Hecate's, all of them have spikes all over their bodies. um,
Hmm.
Mhm.
and yeah, it's very interesting. I'm trying to think of what else to say. What are your thoughts on the Amazons, especially in their creation? Because I'm kind of at a loss of words of what to say.
They're separated into tribes. Like I love that each of them have a different like goddess that's kind of like their origin, and I really do hope that the aspects of each goddess like kind of influences how each tribe carries themselves. So like beyond looks, but like in their philosophy, in their like their idea of justice and how they carry it out. I really really hope that that's the direction it's going, because that's what it felt like, but I don't know for sure because I haven't read the rest. But fingers crossed that that happens, and it becomes like maybe even like a contest point between some of them, where it's like they don't agree on certain things like morally or when it comes to justice. Like I think that would be a really interesting like angle to play it from.
Also, I believe
I
I
also agree with
was
that.
I was mistaken. It wasn't Philippus who saved Hippolyta. It was Antiope and the tribe of Artemis. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say I also agree. Like maybe like right now they're on like civil ground because they want this space for themselves and like for like generations to come. But like what their standpoints on like justice does seem like very different. Like Hecate is very like if something doesn't go her way, she's ready to like just duke it out right then and there. Which I
Mm-hmm.
personally like a lot. Like not everything has to be peace, personally.
Yeah.
And that's
But
one.
there's only so much I can say since it's just like the first
Yeah, and
chapter.
that's like an aspect of the Amazons that people kind of latch onto is that they will fight if they have to. They prefer like to talk things out if possible, but they will fight. They can fight. They're fighters. But I think that's a good place to stop. This is awesome. I like you guys to understand how happy I am to have you guys. My next step now is to force somebody to play Metal Gear, but
Oh, maybe it should be
That's
me.
better at
it might be
it.
you. I might force you to play Metal Gear just so we can talk about it. But yeah, this is awesome. I'm so glad that you guys are joining me for this journey. I'm excited to reread this, and the next comic we read is going to be another reread for me. But I'm eventually going to try and find some comics that maybe I haven't read before either. So it's kind of fresh for all of us.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm excited to start this journey because like this is what's been missing from the comic section is just talking about having a conversation about people who are also reading the things that I'm reading. Like me and I read some of the same manga, like Chainsaw Man, but you've kind of not been feeling the most recent arc, so you've fallen behind, and you're reading Dan, and I'm watching it, so we have that discussion, but we can tend to talk about that in animation. But like for the most part, when it comes to comics specifically, we're not reading the same things. We're reading different comics and different novels and books and such. So having a book that we can all talk about it together is pretty cool. Um, a comic that you'll be crazy to hear, you'll be real surprised to hear that I haven't read that maybe we
Mm.
do on this podcast. I've not read Watchmen. I've only seen a
Really?
movie. Not read
I'm
it.
thinking about reading it after watching the movie.
So that might have to be one that we
Read
do.
Watchmen.
Maybe that'll be the third
Mm.
one because I have the second one lined up.
Okay.
That might be the third one. Watchmen. That might be the third one because I need to read Watchmen.
It's
I
so
also
interesting.
I also would like to put Sin City on the docket at some point, because I love the movie, have not read the comics yet, and have always wanted to, but never had an excuse. So